1. Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this lovely evening. It is episode number 360, patch note episode. Patch 6.10 is what we'll be discussing this evening. But first, I need to run down through the crew. Punchinello is here.
Hey everybody.
Welcome. Punch Cereal Box is here as well.
Hi.
Tally is with us.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Tally. And last and least is Chira Jaden.
Hey friends, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty good, buddy.
So, we are ready to talk about patch 6.10, but not before we jump right into the contest we are having. I'm going to enter this by saying that you have a very, very, very good chance of winning if you enter the contest before the end of this month. Seriously, you have a very good chance of winning. If you don't know what that contest is, we're having a network-wide scavenger hunt. You need to listen to all 6 of our podcasts, all not including Illaoi, as unfortunately they are no longer with us. And you need to answer a question from each or do their activity. You can listen to any podcast in the month of May, and they will tell you how to do it. Our question is, what does Cereal Box enjoy drinking? Actually, that's not really a question. But
it's a bonus question.
The actual real question is, who is always introduced last on the Trinity Force proper? We introduced him last today, and we introduced him last every single week, even when he's not here.
Go back a minute and a half and get it. So go do that.
You could go back to episode number 250 and get that.
You probably could.
Maybe even episode 200.
Maybe. I mean, I came on around episode 97.
Is that what it
What
was?
does that have to do with
Yeah.
the answer to the question, Chira?
I don't know.
Great
know.
podcasting, Chira.
I haven't done anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't done a single thing.
Bonus question is, what does Mitch like to drink? Mitch still will not open his top drawer for us. He refuses to do it.
It's not a euphemism, guys. I'm just not opening any part of my desk.
Wait,
Ever again.
what would that
Nope.
be euphemism for?
I don't know, but I'm just making sure to cover my bases here.
I don't want to insult anybody.
I love idioms. For those of you who don't know, because most of you, actually all of you, are not in our Slack group, my fiance Mary does not understand idioms. And I've taken upon myself to find as many idioms as possible to say to her on a daily basis. And what did I tell her today? I told her, which one was it? I said I'm going to knock your block off. And she yelled at me. And she said, why can't you just talk like a real person? And it made me laugh.
What?
Why can't she talk like a real person?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You have or haven't?
I have.
Oh, yeah.
Who hasn't?
Everyone
exactly.
has.
How many parents have yelled, I'm going to knock your block off? Because I know that's happened to me once or twice.
I'm mad at her now.
I
I have a problem. She and I can never be friends again.
I don't know that I've ever actually had someone say it to me, but in old-timey movies, I'm gonna knock your block. Yeah. But
Maybe she's just
I
an
think you guys
elaborate
are
troll.
Old.
I can't count the number of times I've actually had that said to me.
Maybe it's a Midwestern thing. Like us East Coasters don't really get it. Us Southerners.
She's from Virginia. For
She
God's
doesn't
sake.
get idioms at all. I'm not talking about her. I mean, why Tally and I haven't heard that very much.
Okay.
I guess maybe. I don't know. I've
Come
heard.
on, that seems like something that's seen in some old-timey TV show, or I don't know.
What? Knock your block off?
I mean,
Yeah.
like a Western.
This whole
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
is just depressing me more and more by the second.
This is the best PB.
Well,
or
do you
patch notes episode.
PBE patch note discussion? Yeah, let's just jump right into it.
I've
So
been living on PBE. Sorry.
we are going to talk about patch 6.10 as it is out right now for you guys to start downloading. At least it should be, if not sooner rather than later. And we are going to be talking patch notes tonight a little differently, than we normally talk about them. It's still going to be the same, well, here's the patch notes, here's what we think about them, but we've started to take our time and divvy up the patch notes between people on the podcast so they can run some numbers, and hopefully there is less speculation and more, hey, this is what we think is going to be good. So we're going to start right at the top of the list with Anivia, and my document actually says that Brad Punch, he is first.
Don't say my real name.
Oh,
Yeah,
real name is
that's
Punch.
terrible. You can't do that.
No one's allowed to know that.
all right, Brad, what is Anivia?
All right, I'll just go through the list of changes and then go into more detail. So these are all changes that affect your ultimate. They basically reduced the mana cost that ticks per second while it's active. So not the initial cast, but the mana cost per second. And then they increased the cast range and the radius the initial radius. Now, if you remember, when they changed her for the mid-season rework, it made it so the initial radius is much smaller on her ultimate, and then it expands over 3 seconds, and at max size, it does increase damage and has a lingering chill effect. The chill effect is increased by a second. So when they made these changes, her win rate dived a bit. She was sitting at like 52% before the mid-season update. Now she's at 49%. So she's riding the struggle bus a little bit. Not as bad as some other people like Swain, perhaps. But yeah, she needed some updates. So I just hopped in a game with her earlier today just to see how her ult is feeling. And I didn't really understand how small the initial radius is right now before this 5.10 patch, 6.10 patch. It's the same radius as her Q activation. And if you've played Anivia, Q activation radius is like Q has to be on top of them. So it's a really small circle. And expanding over 3 seconds is pretty slow. So it's bad for trading because you basically have to put the ultimate right on top of them in order to get that chill effect, then launch your E. And it's bad for Siege because you really can't capture a lot of minions when you first cast it. You have to wait for it to expand over 3 seconds, which means it's going to be up for longer in general, which means you're spending more mana. So that's why they're adding so much to her kit, or to her ultimate with this patch. The mana cost reduction, because again, it's going to be up for longer since you have to leave it up before it becomes maximum effectiveness. And then the increased range and radius so that it doesn't feel so terrible when you initially cast it and it's the size of a penny.
A penny. I like that. It's
Yes.
probably how big it is actually on screen, or like a dime. It's tiny.
Yeah, they also
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
in that 6.9 patch is also when they increased the missile speed of E, which I know we discussed previously was kind of a weird stealth nerf, which is very, very counterintuitive for how missile speeds usually work, because you're usually happier about something hitting quicker. But usually people would be able to launch an E and then drop the ult on somebody to get the chill before it hits. Now it's more difficult, and they lowered that radius, so they doubly made it difficult for the really good Anivia players to just have that combo down. I think now the radius is only going to be half at the start, so you have, I guess it'll be a quarter of the size of the final ult, but it's still they needed to put some more power back into that.
Something else to bring up was I did some calculation for like the maximum range that she used to have with her ult. So I mean, her old cast range on the ultimate before mid-season was 625 plus like the radius of 400. So you're at about 1,000 range to cast it at maximum amount to hit that chill effect. When they made the changes, that dropped to about 830. And now it's bumping up to 900. So still smaller, but it gives her some love back so that she can get that chill from a farther range and then, hurt people in mid lane.
I will sacrifice some radius to have some range of which I can cast it, so I can be a little safer.
Also, yeah, it's also really important for the wave clear anti-sieging effect, because it seems like she has to get closer than she would want to be in order to lay that down and start clearing the creep wave when somebody's pushing into the base.
I think it also changes a little bit of how, and I think there's not been a lot of good Anivia yet since the changes. I think that people might have discounted how much damage it was doing before, because it was, to tanks, might be a little bit negligible in comparison to the other skills she's throwing out, the Qs and the Es. But now with that extra damage put on, they might, you as an Anivia player, you need to pretty much get that 3 seconds onto people in an elongated fight. And it's going to hit way harder, so people will have to play around that instead of saying, well, I'm in it, but whatever.
I guess the good news is she becomes more of a zone mage than she does a burst mage at this point, because she can zone with a ever-growing R, she can zone with her wall, she has a Q. She's like more of a control mage than she is a burst mage, as she was more or less being played. Unless you're
good
like
at
Froggen or somebody who said you can play her any way you want.
Well, you could
It's
play
still
it both
gonna-
ways. Yeah.
Still going to
before-
need that blue buff if you want to play her as his own mage, though. I mean, even with the mana cost reduction, you can't leave that on forever.
Well, yeah, and the wall also gives you a large amount of control of the battlefield. So she'll always kind of be a control mage, but she could do that really well, but really good players could also just burst people one-on-one in lane, too. So
Not that you can't land a QE combo anymore, but it's just harder to get the RE down.
yeah, that was more of the combo to harass and not the combo to kill.
So the last thing to bring up is that Zanya's was interrupting Glacial Storm. I guess that triggered in 5.6.9. Damn it. So now you can leave it on again.
Just a patch behind punch, or a season behind.
Season behind, yeah. Where does the time go?
I think lots of people have been asking themselves for eons where the time goes. Well, let's talk about another eternal champion, Aurelion Sol. Hey.
Oh my gosh, that was actually.
God damn it.
Thank you.
Wow, I mean, that was
that was
That
probably
segue.
the best transition I've heard from you in 3 years.
You got to remember, I came from the LCS rundown where their transitions are like hit with a brick. So, no. So Aurelion Sol's changes are due to the fact that he's kind of stomping mid lane pretty hard. Second win innings champion in mid lane, and they're touching on a lot of his flexibility, which is the fact that he. So initially when he was released, people said, or Riot said, okay, he had low win rates. It's because people need to figure out how to play him. They don't really understand the outer limits yet of his, which is where you when you hit your W, the stars go out to. Now that they've kind of figured that out, his win rate has kind of shot up because people figured him out. And one of the counterplays is being able to take down his stars, which is done with hard CC. Whenever Sol is hard CC'd, his stars disappear from him. They're not there anymore at all. But that also puts his W on cooldown, which, as you were ranking it previously, was getting all the way down to 2 seconds. And mid laners were maxing that because it's very easy to just throw that out for a second poke, bring it back, and once you've got it down to 2 seconds, you can just throw that back and forth. Really not expend much mana, but if you time it right, get a lot of really easy damage that's hard to counterplay. They changed his cooldown on W so that it's going from 6 to 4 seconds instead of 6 to 2. So giving you a much bigger window to, I guess, not get hit again, to prevent him from dealing a lot of damage in team fights because he'll only deal it in that smaller area once he's not CC'd. And then for good measure, they dropped his ultimate damage by 50 at each rank. So
I thought
really not a huge change, but it's just
no,
free damage that he was. Like, he's not a burst damage kind of mage anyways, so I think that's kind of smart. Even though the utility of it's still pushing people back to that outer limit so that his stars can keep punishing them is still going to be good. I think those are really good changes, and I think that'll bring him back down into not being so oppressive in lane, which I think he was doing as a mid laner.
Does it change support Aurelion Sol? I know that was kind of like a niche thing that people like to run. I saw a few of them over the time.
I mean,
I saw it on some streams. I haven't run into it personally, but
I don't think it's that concerning because the amount of you just push randomly with your stars if you weren't paying attention, and trying to like trade with W, I feel like isn't very good. I don't know. I still think he's a mid jungler he's being played top a little bit, but now that people figured out how to trade with him in lane, I think he's a strong laner. The jungle is you can still optimize that by knowing how to manipulate the minions and keep them in whichever range you want them to be, using Q to keep them there and then W to really punish them with damage. So I don't know. I don't think he's a good support. It just his stun's cool, but it's so like you have to be going at them. And if they just sidestep, you've suddenly put yourself way out in front, and now you're getting killed by 2 people.
Or Braum, yeah.
Yeah. Braum says, fuck you.
Yeah, that too.
Well, let's move on and talk about Cassiopeia then next.
So that's also me. So we talked about Cassio just kind of getting dumpstered. She's dropped to abysmal is probably a kind word for how bad she's been doing. She is just barely ahead of Swain, but at a 37% win rate in mid, good for 48th, which if you know anything about numbers, 37% is a pretty bad win rate.
Yeah, I was playing a game, Bao, our resident, really high diamond player, was playing a game with me the other day, and he was just like, oh, what change did they do to Cassiopeia? And I'm like, well, they did all this stuff to her, and she's not doing well. So he immediately picks it and starts playing it. And 3/4 of the way through the game, the first thing he says is, I'm not even doing bad this game, and I don't think I've ever played a more useless champion.
So obviously the big change that was hurting her is not that she got the new unique grounded mechanic. It's that it's the minimum cast range has really been making it difficult for her to stay alive or do like I feel like make an impact. And it also I think we kind of discounted this when it first happened because I thought it was cool initially. Was her W was stopping at terrain, so it would potentially set up an area that if let's say somebody's escaping and trying to flash over a wall, you throw it at that wall, it sticks to the entirety, like the length of the wall, and so they can't dash over it, flash over it, whatever. I thought, okay, that might be kind of a cool, unique thing. Turns out it's not that good. Instead, they have now changed that so it no longer stops on hitting terrain. They dropped the minimum range by 50, so it's only 500 now. You can cast it at a minimum of 500, which is like a normal 80, like a short range 80 carry auto attack. The max range also went up by 100. So you have a 400 like radius, like an Anivia, an Anivia fully charged ultimate radius that you can cast it in. And they also lowered the cooldown at early ranks, which I think is probably the biggest thing, because it was a 1-point wonder at a 22-second cooldown, which really kind of sucks, even though it was dropping by 2 seconds each rank. Now it's starting at 18 and dropping to the same rank 5 cooldown, which I think is very, very important because you're losing 4 seconds. Like 4 seconds of cooldown on 1 point is very good. And then to help out a little bit, Q range went up by 100. The movement speed takes less time or takes longer to start decaying, so it's helping her kiting a little bit. And if I still don't know if this is going to make her good, but the added utility of being able to throw the W over walls now could create some fun situations, not so fun for your enemies if people figure out how to use it.
It means like she can start team fighting over walls.
Yeah.
She can throw that over them,
Yeah.
and then the enemy can't get to her because she's grounded them, and she's just poison at a range. Can't
And with a
get-
longer range now with her Q too.
Yep.
I was thinking specifically around mid lane where all those small, thin walls over the river into the bush and
Yes.
stuff like that. There's a lot of skirmishing that goes on early game with that. So that's a huge buff to her actually be able to help her jungler if there's a skirmish that goes into those bushes and over those walls. And then you said it, yeah, so you can cast at a more minimum range, more max range. So it's better for self peel. It's better for catching and chase too.
Unless they fix the interaction with her E and how quickly you can shotgun it off, because apparently right now it's super clunky to be able to throw E out. It doesn't machine gun like it previously did when something was poisoned. It doesn't shoot out as quickly, so she lost a lot of damage. Plus, she lost a lot of damage on her passive. Until they start giving more damage back, I think into like her E and her Q, she's probably going to still be worthless.
They did actually help that in the hot fix. There's a hot fix on my birthday, so shout outs
Right.
to me because
Happy
that's
birthday.
totally why they did it.
Right.
They dropped it from 0.9 to 0.75 seconds for that rapid fire E, which of course does not require a target to be poisoned to get that rapid fire off anymore. But they do deal additional damage, and you get the healing now. So I also wonder if throwing that over the walls is maybe going to help her. I don't know, maybe kill raptors kind of quick. I mean, she obviously has to still walk up and do stuff with it, but if she throws it right, maybe they're having to walk through the entire length arc of the cloud and help her.
Have you-
CS more. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something good that's going to happen to her, but I
still
don't
think
have
she's
anything
going to be
really.
worthless. Has anyone not even just played but gone into a custom game with her? Anybody on the podcast?
Not since the update. Not since this one. But
I've seen her played, but I haven't played her
Because
myself.
I haven't been able to touch her either, and I think I know the answer to this, but does W, the range, how wide it goes out, that changes based on where you cast it, right? Like how
Yes.
how wide of a arc
Yes.
it covers?
Yes.
Yeah, like a shotgun spread.
Right. Okay. I've seen her played in like Arams, and I've seen her played in a game, and I felt like that was the case, but without actually touching her, I couldn't confirm.
I just know that from watching the video of when they reworked her,
Ah, right.
because literally the particle effects for the indicator do that spread out that you're talking about.
That makes sense. Well, let's talk about Fiddlesticks, because he's got a pretty high win rate. He's being banned quite a bit right now, as he is pretty spooky. Speaking of spooky, after 5 seconds of not moving, Fiddlesticks will become a scarecrow.
That's
Best
awesome.
change.
That's the best buff I've ever seen. Too spoopy.
New spooky. Yep, Fiddlesticks becomes a scarecrow. I'm assuming that means he just loses his move speed increase.
no, he just
What?
No,
looks-
he
No,
just
he just
just
acts
literally
like a
turns
scarecrow.
into a scarecrow. It's just a visual thing. I think that's how I took it.
No, he
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
don't see this as being like a deterrent to standing still for more than 5 seconds, because if that were the case, then that kind of completely removes, like it'd be completely opposite of what they gave him as a passive in the
Right.
first place.
Yeah, that's not what's happening. They just cut the number of bounces from 7 to 6. It's good tuning. Because that 5 to 7 update was kind of nuts. I
Because
think
they
they're
also
realizing
buffed
now.
the prioritization of it too. They buffed it in 2 spots at once.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. Is number of bounces went from 7 to 6, so one less bounce on E.
It's a slight nerf. Yeah.
Likely still, I would say ban worthy or play worthy at this point, because
Dude,
the
I
move
could-
speed has done quite a bit for him when it comes to clearing the jungle and being able to gank more successfully. So dropping a bounce doesn't drop any damage. I mean, it does obviously.
Well, I think it also hurts his clear a good bit because you're obviously like as Fiddle, you're throwing out your E whenever you can, but then you're draining for most of the rest of the time. So like losing
Yeah,
a
the move
bounce
speed, yeah.
every single time you're ending up like that's gonna hurt his clear. I'm not gonna say like 1/7 because that's absurd, but it's gonna like drop it a bit on those like Raptor camps on wolves.
What is
I
it?
think it's-
1.5% win rate drop maybe for
Yeah,
an extra
that's-
bounce, but I mean that's fine.
I mean, it should
If
be.
it's that much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, does it really drop his win rate? Maybe 0.5%. I don't think these changes. I think they'll need to do just a little more to him. Maybe drop the move speed increase to 1 second rather than 1.5.
Yeah.
Or 0.75. I can see it going down to 0.75. Excuse me.
So I don't see it anywhere. I don't have the numbers for it, but I know it used to be a thing, and I had some success with it in ranked the other night with support Fiddlesticks, especially with the new passive being that you kind of get the chance to stand still in a bush for 1.5 seconds all the time anyway. Every time you get that charged up, I would just sit in the bush for 1.5 seconds and immediately go out and throw an auto attack and come back, or an E and come back.
See, I
I
think
found it worked real well.
he falls in that case where he's too good of a jungler to put him in the support role. That's pretty much what it
Yeah.
comes down to. But see,
We already had a Malphite jungle, so it worked well. It paired up well, and also like they had a lot of assassins, so like a 2.5 second fear versus them is
And a
just
silence.
just on them. Yeah, and the silence that bounces around, and I got crazy amounts of harass off in the laning phase with that movement speed buff, and they weren't able to return fire, or if they
Sure.
were, I out traded them.
I've actually seen a lot of support Brand recently too. If you're not out playing him again, you should probably dust him off, as he's doing fairly well if you land your combo.
Seen her, Brand and Zyra.
Oh yeah, Zyra she does dumb damage. I know.
Okay, so while we're on this, the literally becoming a scarecrow thing is he just stops moving entirely. Like nothing else happens. There's no like he gets glowing.
Oh, he
effect.
just stands still.
It's just instead of doing like this, like his normal creepy. This is terrible for a podcast. Instead of wavering back and forth and doing his normal intimidating, animation, he literally just stops 100%.
That's great.
So, but his model doesn't change or anything like that?
His model did not change at all. It's just like it's frozen
I wonder if
in place.
they just didn't add it to the PBE, or
No, it's
if
in the
that's
PvE.
really
I'm
what they
looking at
mean
it
by
now.
Scarecrow.
Well,
I
no,
was
no, he
and-
just stands still
all right.
I'm-
and
because he
I have
stands
to
with
feel
his
it
arms
now.
up and out when he's walking around.
I'm gonna get super nerdy right now, because at least in the lore with Fiddlesticks, originally how things had gone was like he was supposed to be in
Oh, I could
basically like a side wing of like
the
where the
institution.
League of Legends was at, and this whole
Institution,
spot where he was
right.
accidentally summoned, and he was just like this unmoving thing that was in that room unless
And
somebody
they never
moved in
opened
there.
that room, right?
Yeah, unless
Yeah.
somebody moved in there and then he'd just kill you. But like otherwise he's a scarecrow and he would just stand still. So that makes sense that he wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
At least from a lore standpoint, even though I'm sure they'll change it eventually because they're changing up all of the old lore.
Right.
This
Alright,
is
well-
just kind of a fun thing Riot threw in there. Obviously, it doesn't change much,
It's
but it's kind of
cute.
neat. Yeah, it's cute. That's the word.
Let's talk about Fizz, because he's next on the list here. This is just this is like a QSS interaction change where Chum the Waters the shark can no longer be detached when cleansed. So if it's on you, it stays on you.
Right, why?
Because Fizz needed another buff.
The fish, you couldn't cleanse the fish before, could you?
Yeah.
You could.
You could cleanse it getting off you, and you could get out of where like you could get
I
out
thought
of the
you could
radius where the shark
I
was.
thought you could QSS the fish, but you couldn't cleanse.
Cleansing Chum the Water slow no longer detaches the shark from the target. That's what it
Important
says.
to note that you still get rid of the slow, though. But, I mean, the fish is still going to go off and knock you up, so.
So now you can
but
just
you're
move
dead.
faster into your team and kill more people.
Yes.
On accident.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. Go next to your support. Your support will help peel. / you'll kill them.
Yeah, I thought that was a bug though.
What?
Like, it
dropping off? No,
Yeah, due to the changes in QSS, a nasty bug surface where you would cleanse the fish and the fish would actually fall off.
yeah, that's been that way forever. Using QSS to drop the fish off you.
No. But using cleanse to drop the fish didn't drop it. I don't think.
Well-
I think when they reworked QSS, something in the backend code got changed so that cleanse was now dropping the fish when it shouldn't.
That
mean,
makes sense, but like regardless, how often are you seeing cleanse nowadays?
Not very often unless you're up against a Lissandra
I
mid
think they're
lane.
just confusing the wording here. Because
Probably.
they're specifically mentioning QSS, and then they
Yeah.
use the word cleansing to slow.
Well, I think they changed some back-end code. How I read this personally is that they changed QSS and they had to rework some inner code that did removing the slow but not the fish. But the
Honestly,
way
it
they wrote
doesn't
it,
matter because now all it means is that
Yeah.
QSS you can't take the fish off you anymore. The fish
Yeah.
is stuck to you forever. Like
Yeah.
that's
you can cleanse the slow and then get further away from the team.
or
Further
it-
proof that Riot hates AD carries and
Yeah,
wants
or
assassins
just
to murder
fucking
them.
dodge it. It's just
Well, you
Yeah,
should,
don't get hit by it.
shouldn't you be
pants.
rewarded for putting your ultimate on somebody,
yeah,
No.
you should.
especially if it's a skill shot ultimate?
Yeah,
No.
it's not a super fast moving one either.
All right, let's talk about Illaoi. She got a change in this patch. Illaoi Illaoi's doing fairly well, but she still has the issue that she's kited. She's kited easily, and when you're ahead, you don't really feel like you're doing too much, even though you're pretty fed, unless you're fighting everybody in an enclosed space.
Then you
Or,
feel like a monster.
yeah, then you're a monster. You're alive forever. Before I get into the change, I just want to point out that I think so. I've been looking up what people have been building on Illaoi, and I've previously talked to Crazy Phil about it. And I think it's really interesting that people are building Black Cleaver on her when it doesn't really make sense, considering the tentacles get 160% AD. Like flat AD, they get 160% of your flat AD. I understand that the tentacles can add Black Cleaver to it. There's just so many other items in this game. This is like a whole other conversation another time. I just think it's really interesting that people are building it that way when there's so many other
But
items that can scale
wouldn't
well
they
with her.
max stack the debuff when you cast your ultimate, though?
Yes, they would, but you also need Iceborne Gauntlet. Sterix makes a lot of sense on her because you're healing. Death's Dance makes a lot of sense because you're getting healed for every tentacle slap, and you're getting healed more for every tentacle slap, and you're doing tons of dot damage, and you get a ton of AD with Death's Dance. It's what, the second or first highest AD item in the game? Second highest? Is it first? No, that's right.
I think it's
Yeah, but
tied.
doesn't she have a problem getting kited in Black
That,
Cleaver? Kinda
and that's
gets
what
rid
it
of
comes down
speed.
to. She
Yeah.
she needs Iceborne Gauntlet not to get kited, and even then, it's
Oh,
really
I was
hard
saying
for
Black
her.
Cleaver.
Yeah, and the move speed helps. I mean, it's just interesting they're buying it. I'm not saying it's wrong to buy it. I just think it's funny that a lot of people are rushing it. But regardless of that musing that I had to throw in there, Harsh Lesson cooldown was 6 to 4 previously, and it just went to a flat 4. So now that means you're maxing E second rather than W, because even though W goes to a 2-second cooldown when you use your ultimate, you had to max it so you could get more trades off during laning and mid game and whatnot. So now you can go QEW in lane. So a slight buff to her. I don't think it's the quality of life buff she needs. I think she needs a little more, but it'll be nice to see the good Illaoi players being able to abuse the extra vessel damage.
I'm wondering how much damage she gets per rank of W now.
It's
Because I know her W hurts pretty hard.
it's like 15, 30,
Yeah, I'm looking at it
45
now.
or 50, something like that.
15 to 95. So 20 per level.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a 1-point wonder. I agree with that.
I mean, they're helping that in this patch, and a lot of recent patches have been helping 1-point wonder abilities that are kind of lagging far behind. We just talked about with Cassio W. This is the same thing. Like, why not stop, like, not punish it for never getting skilled?
Yeah, exactly.
It might also depend on what you're doing, though, because, I mean, so you're using Test of Spirit, her E, in sieges. But if you're owning your lane to the point that you can just split push and take whoever comes to stop you,
Why would you need that extra damage though? Because you get extra percentage of damage when you put more points in E, so you're rewarded for landing your E's.
but are you still
don't-
going to use E in a duel?
Yeah, you absolutely, because
Okay.
the way she team fights is you drop an E, either at the beginning or in the middle of the team fight, you cast your ultimate, then you just start going to fucking town with W's because the tentacles are slapping down into the vessel.
I'm just thinking that, I mean, you're casting W so much that base damage is going to add up. I don't know. I guess it's something I just have to play with.
I think one of the main things on that is that if you don't hit your E, and I'm not going to try to say that somebody playing suboptimally should be rewarded for it, but if you don't hit that E, you're talking about the only thing you can activate your tentacles with is W, and you have a 6-second window versus a 4-second window always because it's a 1-point wonder. Seems like that's pretty punishing if you're completely locked out of a fight for missing your E.
But you're not, because if you press R, your cooldown for W.
No, I know, but I mean, like in an early fight at any point, or at any point when you don't have your ultimate, like you're at least not getting locked out of having your tentacles activated for missing your E for 6 full seconds, which is pretty long time for something that's kind of very core to her kit. Yeah. So I think that getting it down to 4 seconds always is pretty good to always have that ability.
I agree. I think it's a nice little buff. I still think she needs just a little bit more love and whatnot to continue, or the meta needs to just drastically shift to favor an immobile champion.
Yeah, I think it's a kit thing because the meta really never favors that unless there's something else that's just completely broken with their kit.
I think she could use some love, but I mean it's dangerous because you give her too much love and she's going to start dominating the lane.
Oh yeah,
she can already be a very scary lane bully for whoever can play her well.
Excuse me. Let's talk about the next. Then Jinx is up.
All right, Jinx. I had Jinx. All right, so TLDR is they are increasing Fishbone's base attack speed, but decreasing how well it scales with attack speed. So this attack speed thing isn't new. Back in 5.22, and yes, I did verify that patch. Okay. 5.22.
Isn't that in the future, Punch?
No.
Is that a date joke?
This was last season.
No. In his mind, where he thinks what patch we're on.
Oh, okay. I got you. I understand now.
Wow, that's slow.
Anyways, now I feel bad. Anyways, so they decreased how well Fishbone scale with attack speed by 15%. In other words, it scales at 85% of your bonus attack speed. They increased that to a 25% reduction. But because of the base attack speed increase, she's really not losing attack speed at all almost at any point in the game. So I just did some math. At level 18 with 2 attack speed items, I used Runaan's and Static Shiv. She's going to have actually a slight increase in attack speed just because of how much that base went up. So even though it scales slower, technically, because of the base increase, she's going to have more Fishbone's attack speed throughout the game. Most notably at level 1. That's what this is targeted as, or targeted at, is during the laning phase, because Fishbone's is just so horribly slow during the laning phase when you try to trade with that. So she's going to see... Jinx mains are definitely going to notice this. I think it's going to be pretty good for trading.
She's been seeing a resurgence recently.
She has. She's at a healthy win rate right now. About 52%, I think. Mm-hmm. And she's really scary late game. So, I mean, even though this helps her early game, if you remember Must Ban Kog'Maw, the reason he was so scary is because because of how easily he could get to his late game. This is kind of the same vein with Jinx here. They're making it easier for her to get to late game and scale up.
Did she always... Fishbone's always scaled less, right? Not just because you build up stacks with Pow Pow, right?
It's always had less attack speed.
Yeah. Well, because they're bringing it back up to it being equal to her base attack speed. There is no penalty at level 1. Yes, it's back to 0.65, which is straight up her base attack speed. Okay.
You just get less scaling.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Are we ready to talk about Malzahar then? I guess
Malzahar.
We left this one open to everyone. It's just a small tweak coming in from Malzahar. He's at a very unhealthy win rate right now. At what, like, is he 56%?
Whatever you mean.
Top in 2 lanes. Yeah.
Let's look this up here. Oh, oops, I was
56% at jungle and 57%
at
middle.
mid.
Yes, 57%. I can't imagine this drops that win rate that much, but Void Shift cooldown was 23 to 6. It is now going up to 30 to 6. So that's his passive.
This is the passive, yes. So note that his cooldown isn't decreasing per level anymore. It's decreasing at set intervals. So it goes from 30 to 18 at level 6. So you're going to have a 30-second cooldown all the way up until level 6. So you have a much bigger window to trade with Malzahar once his passive is off.
But once he gets back to late game, he's kind of in the
Same boat.
Yeah.
Late game.
I
That's
can
probably when
also-
you need it less. That's probably when you need it less, though.
his late game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine this definitely. I mean, this is obviously is going to shake some things up, but I would feel like he's still too oppressive in the fact that all you need is that up once and allow Malzahar to trade with you. Malzahar will win a trade as long as his passive is up.
I mean, it all comes down to having to outplay Malzahar when his passive is up. Because you don't want to trade and he does. So somehow you have to knock it off and disengage, while at the same time he's trying to hard engage on you.
So
but once you get it done, if you can successfully do that, knock it off and disengage, and then now you have a longer window to wait for your cooldowns and then attack him before his passive's back up.
So my question with this is that obviously this is a lane focused nerf. That's undeniable. You're not 23 versus 30 at early ranks is not going to get your passive up between camps. Like that's just not going to happen unless you're actively trying to stand around for a little bit. Why is there not like a like something that's affecting his jungling when he is still the number one jungler?
Yeah,
too.
I'm trying to figure out why is there no damage reduction on his voidlings. I mean,
Not
he
to
did have a
mention,
small. Well, he did have a small nerf on that patch. That
Well,
came
some
out
of their context is that their balance hotfix has fixed a lot of his issues, but
it's
I
been
still
over a
think-
week, and he's
yeah,
still
and he's still doing
57%.
really well. So I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, they did it on that same balance update that Cassio got her small change.
Doesn't this
They're-
also give
they
you
drop
more
some W.
opportunities, though, if you're invading or if you catch him in the river in transit and you're another
To
jungler who's
potentially
good
kill
at
him.
yeah, because that's
I don't think
it's extra
so.
I don't
7
think
seconds
so.
to level 6.
Because well, again, it's how often are you going to spend 23 seconds out of combat? I guess that was scaling with level. So.
But if you finish your buff and you're going into river and you're doing the scuttle crab, that's an extra 7 seconds.
I mean,
Yeah, okay.
sure, there's counterplay ability there in the fact that you just have to hope you catch him out in between the buff or his passive coming up. That's all.
Yeah.
It is. You just have to hope you catch him when the passive is down.
Or if you're waiting for a gank for that to come up, that's another 7 seconds you're forced to wait, or 6 seconds you're forced to wait. So
That's an important thing to mention is you can actually see the cooldown underneath his buff bar now in 6.10. So if you are invading on him and you see him in the river, or if you are looking to gank him, you will have this indication of when his passive is going to come back.
You'll
up.
have an indication to know whether or not to proceed
Yes.
with said gank.
Right.
Oh, it's almost there. Screw it. I don't want to play that game anymore.
Fuck that.
I think even with these changes, I'm still going to ban Malzahar. There's too much ability for Malzahar to win the game and snowball through it with this passive, even at 30-second cooldown until level 6, that I don't want to risk him coming into a game.
I agree he's probably still going to be banned, but that makes me a little sad because since they've added, seems like a considerable amount of counterplay here, I'd like to see people actually try and
Sure.
work around these changes.
Well, that's what bans are for, so you don't have to.
Easy for me to say
you
because I
don't
don't play mid lane,
Yeah.
so I'm not playing
Or
against him.
top.
Uh,
He's not doing as well. at
He's
top.
not doing anything in top.
He's doing better in mid, but still.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Master Yi, because
He got hit
Master
hard.
Yi.
Master Yi got gutted when it came to the removal of Devour gutted Master Yi,
Riot was like,
and the removal of
oh,
Ginsu's for him.
what are the 2 items that you want more than anything that make you really, really good? Yeah, let's not put those in the game the way that they were anymore.
He went from what, a 52 or 53% win rate, maybe a little higher, I didn't check before, down to a 42.95% win
oh,
rate out of
good.
jungle.
Leave him there. It's a good spot for him.
And this isn't only the removal of Devour and Ginsu's that changed this. It's the fact that over the last few patches, over the last 10 patches, they've just they've just chopped away this kit. The R changed, there was some damage, there was a damage change on his E. I remember that came out. And there was just little changes that have just all stacked up to hit this tipping point when they remove all the items he wants, that he just drops off the face of the earth.
I mean, that's on a lot of those attack speed jungle champions. That's Master Yi, that's on Jax, that's on Udyr. Like, there are a bunch of champions that are on, just 3 or 4 weeks ago, they were on the top end of the jungle win rate, and now they're all in the bottom 10.
Called it.
You called it?
Yeah, I remember him calling that.
I said that they're gonna chip away at these guys' kits, and then they're gonna rework the items and leave them
And
in
then
the
they're
fucking
gonna leave
dumpster.
them where they were at.
Kind of like Udyr?
With Kale.
Yeah, I've been bringing that up with Udyr left and right.
With it's
Well-
totally what always seems to happen. They did the same thing with Warwick 3 seasons ago. It's what they do when they can't balance an item. They nerf the champions, and then when they finally realize, oh, it's the item, they leave the champions in the gutter and they don't revert the nerfs.
Well, if you guys remember back in 6.6, in 6.8 they increased Highlander, so at a higher cooldown, the duration is reduced to 7 from 10, and the kills and assists change the amount of time. You get more time if you get kills with it. But the patch previous to that, they changed Wudu style, so the base damage was increased, and they changed the way the AD ratio worked to do bonus AD. So now he's forced to build extra AD to get the damage, and in order to try to mitigate that, they gave him some extra true damage on hit when you activate E, you get the extra true damage. Because it was 12 to 40, it is now 15 to 55. And they also gave Meditate a 0.25 ability power ratio. And overall, I think he could still do well out of the jungle. I've seen some people still build. They don't actually build warrior on him. They build the jungle item, and then they skip it and they go right into eye edge. Or
They just get the smite 'em.
They just get to smite him and they jump right into attack damage items because there's no reason to build warrior on him anymore when that money can go straight to just more crits and more attack damage.
It's arguably more cost effective because he wants to hyperscale anyway. He wants a big ticket item to just get in there and start getting kills so he can continue to snowball.
Right.
Well,
changes help, but I don't think if they want to see him. I've used the word before, feast or famine. Master Yi is very much a feast or famine champion based on the items that the jungle items, and you have to play Master Yi at an above average level to do well with him. And he's kind of like one of those where the curve is really steep and it rises really fast. Like you can, it kind of plateaus and just shoots up when your skill shoots up with him. And without something that increases his attack speed by a significant amount, I don't think he's going to see a gigantic win.
You could argue
increase.
though those two items raised his skill floor to the point where you didn't have to be
That's
that great of a
fair.
Master Yi to be good with him, and now it's back to where that skill floor has been lowered because they took those two really great items. They're gone. You have to know what you're doing to do well, but even still, like with them cutting so much stuff out of like stat wise out of his kit and nerfing little bits and pieces over the past couple patches, it's a champion that's in a bad spot, and they took his items away.
Now he's a crying baby in a crib. Wow.
I would say that his feast or famine nature also just comes from his kit, not even items, because he's a reset champion. He's a hyper carry melee champion. All of those are usually feast or famine to begin with, plus the items were feast or famine with sated. But you're saying, unless you get something that increases attack speed a lot, we can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, fair.
What would he build now?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Let's talk about some of the jungle champions, and if you want to, afterwards we can jump into Blood Razor as well.
Well, I was going to ask if I could interlock the two, because I think
Sure.
that some of these were kind of interlocked. At least it could also lead in from the Master Yi we just talked about.
Absolutely.
So Shiv and Nocturne, I'm going to do cliff notes real quick. Both were given some new AP ratios in their kit where previously there was none. Nocturne got it on his Umbrum Blades, which is his passive, that little AoE scratch marks that happen every once in a while when you're auto-attacking. And it got a 15% AP ratio. That's his passive. And Shyvana got an AP ratio added to her Burnout, which is her W ability. That's usually the ability you max first out of the jungle. It's 10% AP on the actual AoE and 25% on the auto-attacking people that are affected by that AoE. What this means and what I see that they're doing here is they're trying to make you not feel so terrible for building some AP on an item you may want. Hint, hint, Rageblade. Although I don't see a ton of Rageblade necessarily built on Nocturne. And this leads me into the next change, which is Blood Razor for these jungle champions. And Mastery is spoken to above. As I discussed last week, new Blood Razor, like with the fact that it doesn't hyper scale, it doesn't stack, it doesn't have all this scaling period and just farm up the jungle. It gives Riot the ability to better balance this item and tune it without it necessarily being tied to scaling and all the issues that brings to the table. So they buffed the attack speed from 40 to 50. This is a 25% increase in damage, and they buffed the passive on-hit percent damage from 3 to 4. That's a 33% increase. And so total increase of this item damage boost by 50% in combination with some of the... In combination with... If you're buying this, you're usually also getting a Rage Blade. And these champions got some AP added to their kit, which makes the Rage Blade a little bit better. So I think these are all kind of tied together. And then obviously Master, you got kind of a similar thing with you got an AP ratio boosted.
On his W.
Yeah. And not only that, but they boosted the base attack speed this item gives immediately 50% out of the gate upon completing it. That helps with the base damage on hit of Wuju style that you just talked about too. So overall, I don't think this necessarily fixes the issues that Shyvana and Nocturne have. I think Nocturne's at a okay spot right now. He's sitting at like 50 and in between 50 and 51%. Shyvana, I don't think this saves her. I think it maybe brings her to 45%. I don't know. She's in the dumpster right now, but it'll bring her up a little bit. But I don't think this is going to make them OP like they were.
I like see with Nocturne, for example. I like Warrior on Nocturne better. I mean, I know Devourer was a way to do it, but that extra cooldown reduction I thought was more helpful than anything.
And Warrior is what is normally seen, and you don't see any of the... I mean, at least the most popular builds, I don't see most frequent, most highest win rate. I don't see anyone going Warrior at all. I do see Rageblade, so that'll help them either way. Actually, never mind. I had the wrong thing pulled up.
Oh, stand by.
Oh, wait for it.
We're
Too many
waiting.
tabs open. So I was right because I looked this up before the show. I don't see Rageblade. I don't see Blood Razor. So I think they're trying to push Nocturne into building that, and that's why I kind of linked those two together because they gave him an AP ratio and they buffed his item, and they're trying to address Nocturne in this patch in general. But no one's building these items on him to begin with, so maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. But that's really hyper scaling, and you're not getting much defensive stats with that.
I think it's too hard for him to build Rageblade out of the jungle.
Yeah, like since they're not actually taking anything away and then giving him ability power in return, it doesn't seem like they're pushing him for that build. But perhaps he has the option to experiment with that now.
That's a good point.
I mean, he's never really been built attack speed in the past. He generally had success with maybe one damage item, like Wriggles way back when, and into tank. But I'd like to see. I think that would be pretty interesting with the Ginsos and.
I remember occasionally we would see in the LCS like a hyper scaling split push Nocturne from Meteos.
You'd see a Ghost Blade.
Yeah, like a Ghost Blade
sure.
Orc. I thought I could be misremembering it, but I remember they had like a split push Nocturne as part of their comp with the ability to join the team fight because you have a semi-global. So maybe with these items you could split push really well, especially with maybe the new Rift Herald. I don't know.
Oh god, top turn.
I don't think this necessarily turns Nocturne over on its heels, but it'll be interesting to see how it affects the other...
His heels are on his head.
On his head. He doesn't really have heels, you're right.
Bad idiom. Sorry.
Fucking
You're
idiom
forcing
police
it
over
now,
here.
Man.
Me?
I didn't know you would turn people on their heels. I always thought you turned them on their head. Because, you stand on your...
Knock them on
It's
their
not going to turn like...
You said turn them on their heels, Tally. You said turn them on their heels.
You're just bowling them over. Relax.
I'm bullying Tally around.
You're a heel.
I am. In
Yes.
the terms of this podcast, I am very much a heel. Let's talk about Swain. Cheer up.
Oh, Swain.
Swain's a
Oh,
heel, too.
sweet Swain. Oh,
Poor
36% win rate mid Swain. Oh, 39% win rate top Swain. Hey, Mitch.
This isn't Riot's fault.
Mitch,
Yeah.
It is right.
what was the thing that you're very upset about and your PSA that you would like to announce for anyone who's playing Swain right now?
Well, unfortunately, I can't take full credit for this because it was in
Riot
the
straight up
patch
said
notes.
it's a PSA.
But this is a big call out to you guys who don't read patch notes ever or don't listen to us because
How dare you?
sometimes people pigeonhole skill orders. You think this is how we've always done it.
This
And then
is
the
how
old
we'll
guard
always
gets
do it.
changed out. The old guard gets changed out because you thought, hey, you know why we maxed E on Swain before? Because it made it go from 8 to 20% increased damage. You know what we didn't check last patch is that it's 20% at all ranks, and that maxing E gives you shit. It doesn't give you anything. And you know what's great? Most frequent skill order on Champion GG, maxing E first, 34% win rate. Good job, guys.
Good
This
job.
is
Way to
your
read
fault.
patch notes.
This is your fault. This is not Riot's fault. Good God.
All right. So now that we had that special moment, they gave Swain more HP per level. That's nice quality of life. It's 12 HP per level. It's all good. As this is kind of interesting because now that the way Q interaction works, instead of just putting it on a target and then it just continuously hits that target, you drop your Q in an area and it basically like prioritizes something in that area. If your Torment is on something, it will prioritize the person with Torment. But let's say that Q is targeting a minion now. If that minion gets to 10% health and Beatrice,
10 health.
Oh, sorry, 10 health, not 10%. 10 health, and your pretty little crow is shooting its laser beam at it, it just insta-kills it. Which, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that seems really minute to me, because at a certain point, that thing should be hitting for more than 10 HP.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 health seems like it should be talked to the percentage.
Right.
No. That actually seems fine because
That helps.
in
Below
something that's
10
It
health,
should,
has
it will
to be
help
9.
early.
It has to be
no,
9
but
or below.
it's something that's going to be like it's not like I don't think it's taking time to do that. I think it's just going to execute them really quick.
It will.
And so it's saying that the situations where you had a tick of the damage, bringing it to like a small amount of health but not killing it, probably happened frequently
it
enough
will
that people
kill
are
it
like,
now.
well, I'm losing CS for this because
Now,
it's doing 30
what-
damage per second.
What I would like to know is, will this interaction, because again, your Q prioritizes something, if it's not hitting the lowest health thing and there's something that gets within 10 health and it's in there, that doesn't really help out too much unless your bird just happens to be targeting that thing.
It should, I would
I
assume.
think it'll auto kill something. Like it won't switch targets to do so. I think it'll just execute
Auto
something
do
in
it.
that area.
That's how I read it, at least.
Um,
Swain was a pain in the ass to last hit with before he
yes,
got
he was.
reworked.
His
So-
his auto attack animation was not great. and
Well, that and none of your spells were really good about clearing waves. I mean,
Other
there were
than
such
ult.
long cooldowns. Yeah, it's other than ulting, and then that drained all your mana. I used to play a lot of Swain mid lane, and I mean, I imagine this helps him a lot early, actually.
Now, the other big piece of this is there's a bug fix, and that apparently, like, his Q wasn't correctly applying Leandries and Rylai's, so that's been changed, and it's
A
supposed
bit of
to.
a problem.
Yeah, that, considering like those are two items that have been pretty core on him for a while as well. You really want to get that interaction between the slow and the extra damage.
Take it back, Serial. You blame Riot after all.
No, no. If you
and
want to tell me that skilling, that putting a skill point that makes it cost 5 extra mana and gives you 35 damage and that's it, then that's not Riot's fault. That's all.
The biggest change out of all of this, though, is with Ravenous Flock. Basically, there's an issue that they want Swain to feel more of like that beefy sort of drain tankish kind of character, and when you're all, because you're not always going to be necessarily able to just run past people to like get near squishier targets that wouldn't have magic resist against you, and since the amount of damage that you did to these targets, you got a percentage of that HP back. So you got 75% of that HP back in the past. Now, whenever you hit something, it's no longer a percentage of your damage done to it. It's a flat amount plus an AP ratio. So you get more back for hitting champions, you get less back for hitting minions, but now if your ult is hitting a tank, you're getting at least consistent health back rather than they have a lot of MR. I'm not getting anything out of this.
Right.
And the other thing, this is kind of interesting as well, the way that the birds prioritize now, they actually, the birds that fire off from it, prioritize targets that are closer to you. They always prioritize champions, but like, all this screams to me is, build him tanky bird drain tank guy, and then run up to squishies and get as close to squishies as possible, because you're going to be able to do more damage that way, and you'll be able to hopefully, while you're running past, get more health from tanks.
And max Q.
And max Q. Please max Q.
I took the flock together to mean actually a little bit more of you could last hit more consistently with the farming with
You will
R
as
becomes
well,
a little
because
bit
you
easier.
can move up next to things.
And team fighting, you can control who it's hitting a little bit better. So if you're wanting to hit the 80 carry that you're chasing, it will continue to
It'll
hit that
hit
80
that
carry
one, and then
instead of hitting the support that's further away. Or something like that.
We need to speed this up a little bit because we
Alright.
still have a lot to talk about.
I'll just jump to Trinity because the Trinity one was really easy. There's something I did not know. When Trinity gets reduced to 1 health, at the end of his ultimate duration, he heals for about 3% of his health. So that's new, because usually I just hit Q as soon as I'm like a second away. Yes, he did. Now it no longer does that. It just gives you, like, you can't be dropped below a flat amount of health, and that amount, which is around 70, is roughly what Riot has worked out to be about 3% of his health with an average build.
All right. We also need to talk. Terex R, easier to see now, by the way, if you had a problem with that before.
We really need to talk that.
I did. I think you need to know that because
So it's more outrageous.
For how important it is, I don't have a problem with that.
right.
Make it as noticeable as possible.
Felkaz.
More gems.
Real quick talk on Vel'Koz. Pretty much when they took off the passive ticks from his ultimate, so his ultimate used to apply passive stacks. They traded that for true damage versus people who've been hit by that passive recently, like fully the 3 stacks. Essentially, without that true damage buff, you were still losing at levels 1, 2, 3 on the ult 28, 45, and 62 damage per tick, which is a quarter second. So you're losing essentially like 100, 200, and then 300 damage per second to targets, which is pretty ridiculous that you're losing. To bump that, and they nerfed other ratios too on his W and his E. So to give him some power back, they bumped up the ratio on his ultimate and the ratio on his passive. I think that'll help him. It's still the way they changed it is they were hoping that he'd be less of a pressure early gamer and hope that they would help late. It's really not. The numbers on it don't really work out to be good. His win rate did drop a good bit, 2% and 4% for support and mid, respectively. So I think that it still requires, just like Brand, getting your passive to work for it to be effective, especially before you ult. But I think it'll be good against tanks. If you can get your passive onto a squishy, onto an 80 carry, onto a mid before ulting, you've probably already won the fight anyways. So it's really about getting more damage on that ultimate when you use it, probably more onto tanks, but still it's going to hurt in the back line, just not get the passive stacks off.
All right, Vladimir's up.
Vladimir, big one is now when you start channeling your E and you use your Sanguine Pool, so you hit your W and you go into it so you can go immune, when your E activates, it doesn't knock you out of pool anymore.
And that's it. Kidding.
No.
But it would still go off.
God damn it, Mitch.
So you still get the damage, right?
Yeah, you still get the damage.
Okay, good.
It doesn't knock you, like, you can still use your W as sort of a Zonya's thing, which that ability is, hey, this is my time sink between ability cooldowns, unless it's, dodging skill shot or whatever. So that's quality of life, because it's now, hey, I want to do damage while I go in, but I started channeling this and now I wanted a W and now I'm out of my W because a second and a half passed and the channel's gone. The next big one is Riot's not happy with the amount of health back that Vlad's getting when he ults at all. So instead of the amount that it was healing before, it's almost healing for double.
So what'd you say?
Well, that's
Instead
nice.
of 1,050, it's 3,000 now or something like that?
I did the math just based on a Vladimir. The flat amount you get back at max rank, just it used to be a percentage of the damage done. Now it's a flat amount, max rank, it's 350 plus 70% of your AP. So if you have 500 AP and you get your ult on one person, before you'd get 350 health back previous to this patch. Now you'll get 700 health back just for hitting one person.
Jesus.
If
It's
you
worth
can
noting
hit,
that's
And that's-
350 if they had no MR.
yes,
No. Oh yeah.
that's 350 if they had no MR. Now MR doesn't matter. You just get a flat amount back.
Wow.
If you land a 5-man ultimate, previous to this patch, you would with 500 AP, you'd heal for 1,050.
Pre-MR.
Now, it heals for 2,100.
Jesus.
So
Seems legit.
yeah,
was
that
was the pre. Was that against MR even?
No.
no, that's not the first one wasn't.
So
against
it's
MR.
actually so
was
the
lower.
5-man ult. It would even be lower than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, they effectively gave if you can land that big ult, you're gonna get a really, really big chunk. I mean, there's Vlads that are gonna be able to get more than 500 HP. I just did that because it was a standard amount and it was really easy to do. But
Jesus Christ.
yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
huge buff.
you're getting back just from landing just from landing a 2-man ult, you're getting 50 health back more than you would get landing a 5-person ult from last patch.
All right, another few big things we need to discuss before this ends. Zyra, not a big thing, but Zyra, you can step on her the plants that are spawned from her passive more quickly. You can step on them after a second rather than a second and a half. So I don't know if anyone really paid attention to that, but you can.
It's noticeable.
There you go. The big ones here is Mountain Drake. It no longer amplifies true damage, including smite. So yeah, that little tip I gave you guys the last
Womp
episode we
womp.
talked about.
It's gone.
Sorry about your luck.
Right, it hurt us.
Yeah.
And Ocean Drake. It now restores 12% of your missing health or mana every 8 seconds, if not damaged by a champion or tower in the last 5 seconds. So you don't get it in team fights anymore, essentially, or diving or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so it takes 13 seconds for it to go off, or at least 5 seconds to start the first counting of 8 seconds. So I believe, I'm not actually sure on that, but I would think that you'd have to wait longer than just 5 seconds.
Cannot confirm or deny. But yeah, Ocean Drake was probably is the strongest buff that you can receive right now, and that needed the slight nerf. So we'll see how this plays out. And if you guys aren't already prioritizing dragons, you should be taking them anyway. Because even a lot of people say the Air Drake, whatever it's called, is not good, and I won't go take it. I've heard a lot of people say that. I won't even bother with it.
That out of combat move speed's so good.
I think
Yeah,
I
it's still
talked
worth
about that
taking.
It's so good.
last week.
I've
But
seen
it's also-
more
The only
people
one-
say that.
The only one
But
not
this-
worth taking is Fire Dragon. Can't confirm that my team is 0% win rate when we get Fire Dragon.
I was
Big sample size.
I was
Yes.
on the wrong end of a Elder Dragon fight gone wrong because we were trying to rush it, and they showed up and killed us, took it, and won immediately after. So we are that's the new Dignitas bait.
Yes.
The new throw pit.
Yep.
All right, so barrier cooldown has been decreased. It is now down to 180 seconds from 210 seconds. So interesting change there. I think they're trying to get it back in line with heal because heal's continually outclassed it.
It's still going to be. I mean, the only people that are going to be taking this are still mid laners.
Right.
Heal is just too good when you got to do a bot lane because it affects your partner.
Right.
And then heal gave the move speed. And I don't think this is going to change anything until heal gets rid of the move speed, or barrier gets it, or maybe another cooldown buff.
It's barrier's a nice change when there's so many assassins running around as well, especially in your mid.
What
lane.
if they upped barriers duration by an extra second or 2?
That I think might help it, but barrier has such a ability to completely fuck it up and misuse it, whereas heal, if you use
that's what
it,
I'm
worst
saying.
case scenario, I'm saying that might help it because barrier has such a window, and if you mess up that window, whereas heal, if you use it, you still have more health than you did before, no matter what.
Yeah, current HP over temporary HP
Yeah.
is almost always better. I use that almost depending on the situation and how good the temporary HP is and the duration of it.
The
So,
only better part is that barrier is better against Ignite, so
Ghost has also had a change where it went from 210 to 180 seconds as well. And the movement speed bonus has actually changed to increase with your level. It used to be a flat 27%. It now goes 28 to 45% based on your level. So you gain significant move speed as you continue to level. So I'm curious if this means more Kog'Maws with Flash Ghost, more Twisted Fates with Ghost potentially, rather than Flash. And if not, Heckrums and other champions that could use this additional move speed. Singed, absolutely. I mean, the
You almost
champions that
always
were already
took it
picked
anyway, but
Ghost
yeah.
obviously will love this. I don't know if it's a suitable replacement for Flash, but there's some champions that could definitely use both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe this they're meaning this to take over Ghost instead of Flash for some niche champions, but instead it might end up taking over heal for like those mid laners that might want it. Like there's a lot of Flash, Ghost, Twisted Fate, or Rises back in the day at times.
Oh yeah, Rise. Pretty
Yeah.
good for him.
Well, when Nasus used to take Ghost a bunch on Trinity, some top laners. I used to take Ghost with Warwick Jungle as a cheese strat for a while.
It's
well, I
hard.
think it's also
Ghost is hard to use.
distortion getting removed was a big nerf to it. Like Ghost, I mean, any
between
Flash
taking
Ghost
the
character,
two,
huh?
between taking both of them.
Yeah, any Flash Ghost user was 100% getting distortion boots because why wouldn't you?
Just the value. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last change in this patch, not a big change, but for those of you out there who are trying to get a mastery with every single champion, you have more work to do. You need to go back. There was a guy who posted he had 100 champions mastered. He's got to go back and start from square one because there's mastery 6 and 7 now available to everybody.
Get good.
Now my Graves that I've never played since the rework is no
Isn't
longer
mastered.
is no longer mastered and good. Hooray!
Wow.
Gives me more time to play. Gives me
That
more
dude who
points
talked
guaranteed.
shit to me the other day about mastery, his mastery means nothing now too. So there
Congrats.
you go.
I told you, Sean. The new hashtag is Get Korean.
Get Korean. I'm sorry. I have one mastery officially. It's on Elise.
Oh, congratulations! You played a game.
Yeah, I played the one game. Did
Well,
very
fuck
well.
you. Your mastery doesn't mean anything anymore. Hashtag
I
Get
know
Korean.
it's going away. So
That sums it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this different way of doing patch notes. A little less number focused, a little more organized, and hopefully we can continue to bring patch notes like this to you in the future.
if you like it, give us feedback. If you hated it, then send Pwn mean messages.
Yeah, send me messages because I just post them in the chat and I say, well, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah, we like angry emails.
Yeah,
Hate
they're our
mail.
favorite.
Yeah, we receive a healthy mix. We receive more positive emails than hate, but we receive a healthy mix of hate and positive emails. And I actually quite like some of the hate emails where they're actually
They're
like,
so entertaining.
when they're some of them are like, even from there, if we take that a further subset, there's a lot of constructive hate, but it's like misguided construction, if that makes sense. Or constructive criticisms, like misguided, where like they mean good, but like sometimes it just goes a little too far. And I'm like, all right, I know you're trying to be good, and I understand. We'll take some of this into consideration.
Sounds like a good name for a ska band, Misguided Construction.
No, that sounds like an old, I don't know, like the angry bands from the 80s, the anti-establishment ones.
But please still send us all your email, regardless if you think it's constructive or not, or you just want to hate on us. If you want to love us, we love it. Feedback at TrinityForcePodcast.com.
One last thing, because we just got it recorded last night, which I guess was Sunday for whenever you guys listen to this. The Kha'Zix Champion Select episode was recorded. I thought it was a lot of fun. It should be coming out to you guys. It should be already out to you guys by the time
You listen
this
to the
episode
show.
drops, I would assume.
Yes.
A lot of fun. It was the Zazu who was the focus of our talks when we were discussing the how to close out games. That was his post that we were discussing. He was a great person to talk to. He's got a great New Zealand accent, so if you like that, even more incentive to check out the episode.
And he should come back on for at least one more champion. He's a Master 1 player, so he's got a lot of knowledge. And and hopefully he's going to come on for a later episode down in a couple weeks if we can get him on to discuss
we'll do-
all his mindset mentality stuff.
We'll be doing Vi or Lee Sin in the future, I think, because the other ones that he does are Nidalee and Rengar, which we've already covered. So we'll see.
Right. And so that covers April, and we're already moving on right into May. So anybody who's like, why am I not getting the podcast at the end of May? It's because we were catching up. I really apologize, but we're taking strides to push further and get more Champion Selects done because we're out there messaging a lot of people now. And we'll get
Should
a
be
ton
one
recorded.
done tonight or tomorrow. Or sorry, tonight or Wednesday, I believe.
That's for May. So if you guys signed up for May and you got charged on May 1st, you'll have your 2 Champion Selects 100% this month. There will not be that delay, and we're going to try our hardest not to delay again for you. As well, if you want to hear Kha'Zix, and you want to hear, what was the other one? Malzahar? Not Malzahar, excuse me. What was the first one this month? I'm sorry.
Oh God, this is not Mordekaiser.
Thank you, Mordekaiser. If you want to hear Mordekaiser from a master player, you want to hear Kha'Zix from a master player, patreon.com/TForce Network. Toss us $10. We'll send you those champion selects. Just so everybody knows, Patreon doesn't charge the first of the month. I apologize. So there we go.
We've come a long way since we started our first episode with somebody who placed in silver this year.
Yeah, I know that guy's an idiot. I actually need to message a real Irelia player and bring them on because I saw I meant the meshes the guy who was in the client, like, you know, from Aurelia main. There was like in the client a couple days ago and I never got around to it. I'll find
Aurelia
his name.
carries you.
Is that his name?
I think so.
I'm gonna try to message him and get him on, see if he can talk about it. Get a real Irelia player in here. Then
Yeah,
he'll counterpoint everything I have to say.
He had a pretty good write-up interview with Riot. Had some nice tips and tricks in there.
There we go. All right, guys, that's episode number 360 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you all for listening to us. We will see you all on Wednesday for Talia with Skyen. Actually, he's going to be jumping on and talking about the champions. So that's it, guys. That's the podcast. We will see you all next week.
See
you
ya.
guys.
Yeah.